I'd like to share something very simple with you, something so ordinary that we often overlook it, and yet it has the quiet power to transform how we live, how we connect, and how we share stories unique to our neighbourhood. So would you like to hear more TEDxGosport? Yes. Good. I'm talking about going for a walk, but not the brisk, task-tipping, step-counting kind of walk. I'm talking about the amble, the meander, the type of walk that slows you down, makes you look up and around, and makes you realise that community isn't something that you need to build. It's something that's all around us, ready for you to notice. Now, as we all know, building links with your neighbours can be a challenge in these digital times. And it might seem easier to make new connections through social media and kid yourself you won some new friends or fans. But actually, you might be making it more complicated than it needs to be. Most people find out about community through the simplest of daily routines. And in my case, it started with a dog. Now, I didn't know we were a dog family. You know, if you'd asked me a few years ago what I enjoyed doing on a Saturday afternoon, I'd be much more likely to be bimbling around the garden listening to 80s pop rather than cavorting with a canine chum. But during the COVID pandemic, our daughter returned home distraught, heartbroken after a relationship ended. Yeah. She was full of the usual cocktail of emotion that comes with the end of something that she thought would last forever, or at least until lockdown ended. So as parents, we thought, well, what could we do? How could we cheer her up? So we tried, food, wine, Netflix. But she said the only thing that would make her happy was something that she wanted since she was 7 years old. A dog, she said. Well, I didn't get the memo. So, thanks to our daughter's persistence, we welcomed into our lives a honey-coloured Labrador. Hollie, that's her name, came all the way from Romania through a rescue charity where she'd had a tough start in life. When she came to us, she was scared, anxious, and unsure. And we didn't know what to do, but we bonded, not over treats or training, but through walking. So, grab your leads and poo bags. Let's go for a walk. So here we are. At first, walking with Hollie was more of a tug of war. She would dart, pull, chase pigeons, squirrels, foxes, cats, trying to escape this new strange life. But over time, we got into a rhythm, and then I began to realize just how rich this Gosport landscape is, just how green spaces open up amongst the urban sprawl like hidden pockets of nature. So I'd slow down. Hollie would dart this way and that, sniffing out new messages and leaving a few of her own. And through Hollie, my eyes followed. In spring, I'd see the trees and the shrubs bud into blossom, and then slowly transforming into summer fruits and nuts. How the fading evening light would change the look of the buildings and the greenery. The slow march of the ferries and the cruise ships past the Spinnaker Tower. How people walk the same circuits round the park every day, just like us. And then new graffiti appeared. School sucks! Start a band! That punk spirit alive and well amongst the terraces and bungalows. So, buoyed with these heady spirit of those heady school days when anyone with a killer mullet and a knowledge of three chords would be in a band, let's continue our walk. So we strolled down the old railway line that connected Gosport station to Stokes Bay, where people would then get a ferry over to the Isle of Wight. The royal family used it for ferrying supplies over to Osborne House. And for a time, during the boom years of the railways, it was grand and bustling. But the world moved on, and it faded from history. And yet here we are, on the very same track that used to ferry excited Victorians down to the coast for some seaside fun and socially acceptable frivolity. And further down our path, we come to the infamous Jackie Spencer Bridge, named after John Spencer, who used to mind the level crossing, the gate on Little Anglesey Road. So not exactly a busy road then or now, but Jackie kept watch. More over the allotment than the traffic, but also the urchins that used to grab chalk lumps out of the embankment and see them off with the air of an overzealous park keeper. And perhaps it was this defence of this nuisance activity that earned him his notoriety and gave his name to the bridge. And these days, youngsters would jump into and swim in the waters of Stoke Lake, quite unaware of the people that came before him. Their lives, their struggles, their challenges, and their quiet legacy. But the most transformative part of these walks are the people. Now, before Hollie, I could quite happily walk anonymously around our neighbourhood and say no more than a wave, hello, and a brief acknowledgement of the people around it. But as soon as I had a Labrador in tow, something shifted. People stop. People smile. Children ask to pet Hollie, and I say, yes, great, that's 50p, please. People offer biscuits. At least one senior citizen has come up and said, oh, beautiful. How old? I said, well, thanks very much. I'm 62. So there's something about owning a dog that shows the world that you care about something, and it softens people. People ask questions. They tell stories. You find out who's moved in, who's got a garage sale, who's on the up. And who's not doing quite so well. So a gentleman came up to myself and Hollie, and it was clear that he wanted to talk. And he told us that his wife of 55 years had passed away not more than 5 months ago. And he didn't know what to do. His friends had told him, well, why not get a dog? I'm an amateur. I didn't know what to say. So I told him Hollie's story. And for a while we talked about dogs not dying, and that was enough. So there's something very, very therapeutic about these encounters. People don't want deep, long conversations. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they just want to see a familiar face, a little hello, and to get something off their chest to a non-judgmental fellow dog walker. Dogs act as your social glue. And then there's oh, there we go. Bang on cue. Right, and then there's the patterns you see around the park. The same people, the same faces. The couple with the bulldogs named Frankenstein. True. The lady with the flask of tea. The old man who will talk to anyone and anything with ears. And then of course, there's the names. I mean, us humans have names of no more than four letters. There's Bill, there's Roy, there's Pete, there's Dave, there's Joe, there's Lynn, there's Bob, and there's Rob for that matter. But the dogs, far more imaginative. Caesar, Conan, Carter Brown, true story, Cosmo. One lady named her dog Parker, not because it had bushy eyebrows like the Thunderbirds character, but because she found him in a park. And over time, you don't just notice these people, you miss them when they're not around. Dog walking is quite serendipitous. You never know who's going to be on your route. Hollie never knows when she's going to bump into her best chum. But an adventure, a mini adventure, is always guaranteed. So, here's the science bit. Sociologists have got a name for all of this. They call it weak ties. Those casual, informal, regular interactions that underpin the fabric of a strong community like Gosport. And studies show that dog ownership increases neighbourhood trust and connectedness and the preparedness of people to do sort of small favours for each other. Not because dog owners are more sociable, but because taking a dog for a walk makes you more social, approachable, visible. Dogs, don't they? Dogs help break down social barriers by providing a neutral focus for conversation. Let's move on. And the Victorians knew this instinctively. The idea of dogs as civilized companions, grew out alongside the establishment of parks and promenades designed to walk them. And Gosport is rich in these, thanks to our stunning coastline and our myriad of pathways and cycleways as a result of our former railways. And it leads to acts of kindness. The gentleman that lent us a ladder, the lady who Hollie minded for a few hours, the informal game of catch that we had on the common. And none of this made the headlines, but it all makes a difference. Now, I quite understand that not every dog walking encounter will be positive. Not every human likes dogs. Not every dog's like human. Not every dog's like other dogs. Not every human like other humans. So, some people just like to have their privacy, and learning to understand this and respect personal choices helps prevent awkward encounters, and helps you respect other people's choices. So, the key message I would like you to take away today is connection is closer than you think. It's not in your inbox. It's not in your phone. You may feel that you're digitally connected, but physically, emotionally, many of us can feel more isolated than ever from time to time. But Hollie doesn't understand that. She takes the direct approach, smells opportunity. Just wants a daily sniffari along the path and around the path. And here she is living her best life with a passive income, a personal chef and chauffeur, and belly rubs on tap. Now, I know what you're saying. Well, that's all very well, but I don't have a dog. You don't need a dog. All you need to do is to have presence, to step outside, to take the long way home, to slow down. There we are with one of her friends. The park, the pavement, the postbox. These are all areas where community develop. Through just small acts of getting together and engagement. It doesn't need to be grand gestures. So whether you're from Gosport or Goa, Tokyo or Toronto, the same the truth holds. Connection is universal, and having a Labrador is a good way to start. So just take a step outside. Smile at a stranger. You don't know who or what you might encounter. And as for my lovelorn daughter, well, she didn't need Bumble, whatever that is, to meet someone new. She found him out dog walking on Jackie Spencer Bridge. He's a musician. He's still in a band. And now they've got their own love nest in Southsea. I'll tell her that. I'll tell him that as well. But Hollie stayed with us because Hollie loves us and we love Hollie. So we've come to our end of our walk. But do remember, by connecting with your community, slowly, one paw print at a time, you too could create something incredibly precious. Enjoy your walk. Thank you.